We've all had moments that break us down, searching for light when the world spins round. But in those cracks, the purpose is born, a new way to live when the old is torn. It's more than a story, it's the rise from the fall, a place where your purpose starts to call. With Dr. Stephenson, wisdom takes flight, turning your pain into hope, into light. Collide with purpose, embrace the change. Every story's got a fire in its flame. Tune in, listen, find your way to take life's hardest hits and turn the page. In the podcast, the truth is found. Collide with purpose, let love abound. From heartbreak to strength, the lessons unfold. It's about how we rise, not the stories we've told. Guests with their journeys, sharing their light. In every collision, there's power in sight. It's more than a talk, it's the wisdom we gain through every struggle, through every pain. With conversations that open the door to purpose, to power, to so much more. Collide with purpose, embrace the change. Every story's got a fire in its flame. Tune in, listen, find your way to take life's hardest hits and turn the page. In the podcast, the truth is found. Collide with purpose, let love abound. So come as you are, with your scars and fears. This is the place where the truth appears. Turn your trials into stepping stones. Find the strength to claim your throne. Collide with purpose, embrace the change. Every story's got a fire in its flame. Tune in, listen, find your way to take life's hardest hits and turn the page. In the podcast, the truth is found. Collide with purpose, let love abound. A collision with purpose, your journey starts here. In every conversation, we'll wipe away fear. Find your purpose, let your life ignite. With Dr. Stephenson, you'll find your light.
Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Welcome to Life-Changing Conversations to Inspire Action. This show challenges you to reflect deeply and take bold steps towards transformation. I am Dr. Laxley Stephenson. Today's guest is more than a change maker. She is a lighthouse for those navigating life's storms. Dr. Foster is a global health strategist, award-winning nonprofit founder, and an author, and yes, a visionary behind the Cake Therapy Foundation, an organization that transforms baking into a bridge for healing, identity, and justice. She's a scientist turned storyteller and the host of Cake Therapy podcast, leading conversations that are as bold as they are necessary. With over 15 years of impact across the US and the Caribbean, she is reimagining what it means to lead with heart, with honesty, and with unwavering purpose. So today, we're not just having a conversation, we are stepping into sacred space. Please let us welcome the incredible Dr. Foster. Hi, Doc.
Hi, Dr. Stephenson. Thank you for having me.
Wow, it's my pleasure to have you on. And just for our audience sake, you're in Jamaica right now, right?
I am in Jamaica because I'm Jamaican. Yes.
I love that. By the way, I'm Jamaican also. So you can't just claim the Jamaican being for yourself, okay?
I claim it everywhere I go. I let the world
You-
know I'm Jamaican.
but not just for you alone. We're both
Yeah,
Jamaican, and
no.
I'm sure a number of people from Jamaica is watching us right now. But I introduce you, use your bio, but share a little bit about yourself from through your lens, through your perspective.
Yeah. I'm just a girl from a broken home with lots of broken promises from a father and a mother who did well for her, so that she could become who she is. I'm Jamaican, like I mentioned at the top. I'm married with two children, Kendi and Kennedy, and I'm a baker, food lover, dessert maker at heart.
Yeah, we're going to talk about baking tonight, but not
Mhm.
just to bake cakes, but
Yes.
with a greater purpose.
Oh, absolutely. Always with a purpose.
Everything is well, you're on the purpose platform.
Yeah.
So that
Okay.
you're here is another collision with purpose for you,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. I
All
believe
right.
so.
So
Hmm.
let's talk about the journey behind the power. All right. Let's
Hmm.
talk about you have lived at the intersection of science, storytelling, and soul work. What
Yeah.
defining moment forced you to reimagine who you were and who you were called to become?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, there was a moment in my career, and I think we'll talk about that as the interview goes on, where I almost lost everything because of a pregnancy. And after losing everything that I thought made me super successful, and having now had to be on bed rest because of this child, I found myself really in the kitchen. So I think this is the journey that now begins beyond the power of being this uber successful individual, where I've actually now found myself on my knees in a kitchen, just baking just to feel grounded. Because when I was on bed rest, Dr. Stephenson, I couldn't do anything at all. I could no longer do this vaccine work that I was charged to do across the Caribbean, but I needed to still feel grounded. I've lost myself in the work of science and scholarly things, but the kitchen found me. So I was trying to survive, to really create a moment of quiet for myself in the kitchen. I think that's where it began.
Wow. And look what you have done with it.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And by the way, you talk about pregnancy, and it was a serious challenge.
Hmm.
How's your child, that child?
Oh, my daughter, she is doing well. She is a whippersnapper. My son say she is sassy, but yeah, thank God. It was just I pregnancies and I don't seem to get along, but my daughter is doing great. Thank you for asking about her.
Definitely. Well,
Yeah.
it's all about our children, right?
Yes, of course. Hmm.
Absolutely. Now, let's go beyond your bio, Dr. Foster. Let's go beyond.
Yeah.
People often see your titles, your accolades, but what is the untold story that shaped the woman behind all those credentials?
Hmm. I mentioned it briefly at the top of this. I said I was an impoverished girl from an impoverished home.
Mm,
What people don't see when they see my bio is a girl who pretty much once questioned her worth because of who didn't show up, in terms of my parenting. My father wasn't there. So my titles were earned, but my survival that you're seeing now is something that I've actually lived. So I had to father myself while my mother tried to play both roles, but I've advocated for myself a lot to really rebuild my own personal self-esteem. And I
mm,
had to do that again and again because I had to be intentional about who I am, because I've achieved so much in this bio simply because I'm an overachiever. And I wanted to always hear, well done, because I didn't hear that from
mm.
a parent. So, what people are seeing is this invisible resilience, and it's that invisible resilience that I talk about often is what actually shaped the woman that you're seeing now.
Wow. So seeking approval was so important.
Yep. So I
Mm.
became an overachiever, and I have several letters behind my name to prove it.
But it's interesting for some people seeking approval is just for them to be I'm worthy. You've
Yeah.
taken it another place, a whole
Mm-hmm.
different level. Seeking that approval you've achieved beyond. what would have
Yes.
been normal expectations, but now you're using what you've achieved, not just for you,
Yeah.
but to assist others. So that indeed is a big deal. Let me say, Dr. Donna Thompson, thanks for joining, my co-host and the CFO of A Collision with Purpose. And for anyone out there who's joining us today, we ask that you share this broadcast. You know, we're doing this. I asked Dr. Foster to come on, not just for her to tell her story, but because we know it will be impactful and it
Yes.
could make a difference. So let's just share the information you're hearing today. But that's the essence of everything that we do here at A Collision with Purpose, is to share and spread the word. All right, so it's for me, it's very interesting. The cake therapy, the birth of the cake therapy, and we're going to ask you to talk to us about the cake therapy. But before we do that, I want to play a little video, quick video, all right, to show you in action
Yes.
making cakes. Let's do that. And we're going to pull that up a little bit. Let's go from the beginning because we want to do it justice.
Thank you. Yep, that's me in the kitchen. I'm not baking
Tell us
right now.
about that. You're in the kitchen. What's going on?
Yeah, so this was actually a photo shoot from a magazine. Just talking about cake therapy because it's become such an essential part of centering me and centering the girls. And I was just sharing it with the world in this photo as well.
Okay, let's continue. And that's from the same shoot?
Yes, absolutely, from the same shoot.
Okay.
Just simply highlighting, conversations around the kitchen, just making sure it's meaningful.
Okay. And this will all make sense in a minute. And here's
Yep, this is me over in Switzerland doing my own cake therapy. So this photo was taken in cake therapy. I baked that and decorated it from scratch because once I started baking, I realized I was really, really good at it. And this is me in action.
So this is like not just therapy, but this is also a business where you're selling these cakes?
Of course. Yes, of course.
It's not just therapy for the sake of therapy.
No, I'm baking now with a purpose because it's a business now for me, and percentages of sugar spoon desserts, which is not what I call the entrepreneurial side of this cake or baking, aspect of my life, it goes towards the Cake Therapy Foundation, which I founded.
Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I'm going
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
Let me remove it from the screen here. And all right, so again, the birth of cake therapy.
Yes.
And cake therapy didn't just emerge from theory. It came from your own lived experience.
Mm-hmm.
What pain or revelation birthed the idea that healing could begin in the kitchen?
You know what? The cake therapy was really born the day I realized that the kitchen can become my sanctuary. So for months, I lived in the kitchen baking cookies and baking cakes because I had actually lost my sense of self because I've always been grounded in the scientific world. And when I couldn't do it anymore, I had to find something else to just recenter. And I guess to become good at, so baking gave me something I could control, I believe, and something beautiful emerged from the creations in the kitchen. So I thought if this could actually heal me in the moment, maybe I can heal others just using baking as a therapy. So right now, cake therapy is using the kitchen as a metaphor for women and girls to center themselves.
Wow. It worked for you. Therefore, it can work for others.
Absolutely. Because even though I'm unique, but I don't operate in a vacuum. I don't, I'm not a monolith. I believe that, whatever programs and therapeutic modalities that could actually work for me should be able to work for someone else.
And based on the response we're getting here in the comments, and I'm going to read a couple of them. All right.
Yeah, of course.
Dr. Donna said, I love it, cake therapy. And she said, wow, baking with a purpose.
Yes.
And Lisa, thanks for joining us, Lisa. Lisa said, I use baking as a coping mechanism.
Absolutely, Lisa. Email us. We would love to have you on our podcast to talk about it.
And Dr. Donna also said, the kitchen can become your sanctuary.
Yeah.
What a way to redefine yourself.
Yes,
Wow.
absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. So
Thank
you know
you.
you're onto something big, right?
Yep. Yeah. I know. I really know that it's really a special modality to have introduced to the world. Not that the kitchen is new, it's how you can use the kitchen that's becoming, at the forefront, and it's fairly new. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
And you've leveraged it so well, I must
Thank
say.
you so much. I appreciate that.
Yes. All right, Dr. Foster, we're going to talk a little bit more about baking. Baking as a bridge to belonging, because
Yeah.
that's exactly what you did.
Mm-hmm.
You work with girls who have been overlooked, forgotten, and displaced.
Yeah.
Why does baking create a safe space where therapy sometimes falls short?
Yeah. So I believe that in talk therapy, it's asking you to speak. And I think often we're not able to articulate exactly what is happening to us in that modality. And not often do we want to talk. But I think baking lets you show up as you are, there's no pressure, I believe, in measuring flour or decorating a cupcake. And I think for the girls who've been marginalized or even silenced or displaced or being judged, I think the kitchen often becomes a space where they can just be themselves. And that's where the true healing begins. I think girls deserve a space and a platform where they can be themselves so that they can heal with their friends, build community and foster a sense of belonging.
Yeah. I'm going to post something in the comments, all right? And this is what sugarspoondesserts.com.
Yes.
I'm going to
Hmm.
post it in there.
Yeah, that's the entrepreneurial side of what's become of my baking journey.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think, and tell us a little bit about sugarspoondesert.com. Let's do
Yeah.
something about that.
Sugar Spoon Desserts is where I've housed my talent, I developed this. I found out that I had the ability to bake less than 10 years ago. And I just started to show off, literally, the things that I've baked. And it's amazing, the journey. Sugar Spoon Desserts have taken me to the Bachelorette. I baked for the Bachelorette ABC. Um, my clientele is now NFL, NBA, and almost a lot of Minnesota weddings. So I'm super excited. But that's the platform where I show all the pastries that I've baked over the years.
Okay. And I'm also posting where they can get cake therapy, bacon, change life on Amazon. I'm posting that in the
Yeah,
comments as
thank
well.
you.
You have so much information that we need to share. So, all right. So let's keep it moving.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get to a moment in your life you
Yeah,
will never forget. You know, the moment that reminds you it is all worth it. What
yeah,
story from the girls you have served stopped you in your track and stirred your soul mostly?
yeah. Whew. So I'm gonna quickly share a girl, and then I'll quickly share a parent if time permits.
Hmm.
So for me, I meet girls weekly. I have a group that I meet consistently every Wednesday. And a girl just walks into my space and she shares with me that this is the best part of her day. Coming to cake therapy is the best part of your day. And I hold on to that dearly. And then a mother picked up her child and she tells me that cake therapy is the only thing that she could actually withhold from her child as consequence for her to behave at home. That moment alone stopped me cold. Like, can you imagine? It's not taking the tablet away, it's removing the access to cake therapy to a girl that has altered how she's misbehaving at home. And that's when I knew that this wasn't just about baking, it was about belonging for girls.
Wow. but transformation not just for you, but
Yeah.
for those who you serve as well.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and we're talking about healing, but
Yeah.
healing is not just for individuals
Mm-hmm.
in Jamaica. It's across
Right.
different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
So from the Caribbean to Minnesota, you have stood in rooms marked by traumas,
Yeah.
resilience, and resistance. What have these communities taught you about what healing really looks like?
Yeah. Um, from Jamaica to Minnesota, or even from the Caribbean, what I've learned is that healing can often be cultural. Healing is communal and it's never linear. It really
Mhm.
isn't. You just have to be authentic and live in that truth about it. So whether it's, you are also from Jamaica, so whether it's like your grandmother's prayer, or a girl's first smile in a week, or just
Mhm.
girls reclaiming that I am healed and I'm doing this because I need to protect my peace of mind. I think healing looks like home. So whatever that means for the person who is seeking healing, I think it's unique to the individual. So I think it's cultural and it's communal, but it's never linear. But it has to be honest.
Mm. Honesty is important in life,
Yeah.
period. I'm gonna post a link to for you. You founded a nonprofit organization,
Yes. Yes.
and I want you to talk to us about that. I'm gonna post a link again in the comments. So, and it is the Cake Therapy Foundation.org.
Hmm.
Now that's an interesting nonprofit.
It absolutely is. The Cake Therapy Foundation is finding purpose in the kitchen. Let baking be your tool and your response to the traumas that you're facing. And it's it's geared towards girls impacted by the justice system, girls aging out of foster care, girls who are in and out of home placements, teaching them a sense of self and belonging, and that they too can. We're not teaching people to just become bakers. We're teaching girls to become entrepreneurs. We're teaching girls to finding themselves and branding themselves in moments that require it these days, and just simply to finding a community. And that's what cake therapy is. It's, you know, kids who are generally impacted by the justice system don't usually have enough outlets for them to express themselves. And I'm creating that platform for them.
And it's not just about cake or being in the kitchen, as you said. It's entrepreneurship.
It's not just only the kitchen is just a metaphor for healing,
Mhm.
because it's mentorship as well. It's career building also.
Now, let's say we have quite a few ladies on watching,
Yeah.
and they know people who will probably need your service in all likelihood.
Mm-hmm.
And they get in touch with
Yeah.
you.
Um, you can get you can reach out to me at www.altrishafoster.com. My Calendly is there. You can just book a 30-minute session and we could talk through what your needs are. But you can also follow us on Instagram. We have the Cake Therapy Foundation. And as Dr. Stephenson mentioned, that there is the Cake Therapy Foundation.org is our website. You can also contact us through that.
And I posted your website
Okay, great. Thank you.
also. You have so many things going on. I'll be doing a lot of posting, I can see.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. So keep
Well,
posting.
you know, we, Dr. Foster, quite often leaders
Yeah.
have challenges as well.
Hmm.
And often we have to lead while carrying pain.
Yeah.
And you're no exception to that rule. In fact, you are a space holder, a truth teller, and a change maker. But
Absolutely.
who holds space for you? How do you protect your own healing while pouring into others?
I carry grief and grit, and success equally. So I have gotten to a place where I learned to honor my own pain and allowing, room for others to be able to speak to me. I have a very, very small circle, and I've maintained friendships from high school which I have trusted and I found to be very, very sacred. And to protect my peace, I go to therapy. I go to the kitchen, and sometimes I cry over the cake. But that's part of the work that I do, and that's what I believe in. So my sacred space is my family and my close knit, my very small protected circle from my high school.
I imagine that the cake tastes a little bit better with the teardrops in there.
Absolutely, I believe so.
As you're
Yeah, it's the essence of the cake,
It's the
the
essence of
teardrop.
the cake.
Yeah.
Teardrops. All right. Good stuff. Jacob from Ghana, thanks for joining us. Elizabeth from Kenya, my good friend Elizabeth and Jacob.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. We ask that you share the broadcast in Ghana and in Kenya. We want to get the word out there. We're not just focusing here on the United States and the Caribbean. We want to get Dr. Foster's information out there to the world.
Yes. Yeah. Get it
All
out.
right. All right.
Absolutely.
So Doc, let's take a quick break and then we'll
Yeah,
come
man.
back. We'll
Of
talk
course.
some more. All right. Let's take a
Yeah,
quick.
I'll be here. Mm-hmm.
I'm a boy kid, I'm a boy kid. I'm a boy kid, I'm a boy kid. I wake up in the morning and I praise the Lord. I thank Him for His protection and I walk in His steps, declaring that today's provision is set up for me. I love God and I love my friends. I'm a bold kid. I'm a bold kid. I'm a bold kid. I put on my armor and I read His word, blessing come out of my mouth. Cause I know to whom I belong, I am bold for Christ. Holy Spirit dwelling within me, carrying His presence wherever He sends me. I'm a bold kid, I'm a bold kid. I'm a bold kid, I'm a bold kid. Loving others as He told me to pray for healing, miracles to see, knowing my identity in Christ, He is in me. I am a bold kid, He loves me, standing firm on His word, proclaiming everything I heard, not afraid because He is with me. Be bold. I'm a bold kid, I'm a bold kid, I'm a bold kid, I'm a bold kid. Put on my armor and I read His word, blessing come out of my mouth. Because I know to whom I belong, I am bold for Christ. Holy Spirit dwelling within me, carrying His presence wherever He sends me. I'm a bold kid, I'm a bold kid. I'm a bold kid, I'm a bold kid.
All right. Welcome back to Life-Changing Conversation to Inspire Action. And today we're inspiring action with Dr. Foster.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about healing.
Yes.
Using cake.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we're talking about other things as well. Dr. Foster is also a well-established author. And now we're going to talk about the vulnerability of storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dr. Foster, your
Yes.
book, Lessons I Never Learned from My Father,
Yeah.
carries raw truth and generational grief.
Yeah.
What did writing that book require from you emotionally, and what did it restore?
Writing lessons I never learned from my father pretty much stripped me bare. I had to be gentle with the storytelling simply because my father has other children, and my story may not resonate with them because they might have had a different experience with him, right? But I had to revisit my own wounds and just ensure that I'd buried and cloaked this story in just truth about how I felt and how I felt I was treated or mismanaged or forgotten. And I think that some of these stories I used to whisper, but now I became brave and bold in doing it. It's my truth, and I was ready to always tell the story. So I really had to be vulnerable to be able to reclaim the power that was my story, or that is my story. So I didn't just write a book. I believe that I actually released the weight of not forgiving my father. And in the book, I'm inviting others to come on that journey and release whatever they're carrying.
You know, I've always wondered when someone would write their story.
Yeah.
It's not just about you.
Yeah.
And what? How are they responding?
So far
Family.
so good.
Family.
Yeah. Pardon?
What the family? How's the family responding?
So far so good. The good thing is I'm not very close with that side of the family because my father was never in my life, so he did
Mhm.
not create a dynamic for me to have those relationships where I could even care enough about what their response is going to be, but just respecting them enough to be able to tell the story gentle or
Okay.
gently.
So it's all that. Yeah, toned it down a little bit.
um you know what, there are many ways to say things, several
Mhm.
ways. So I might have articulated it differently if I was
Mhm.
coming from a place of anger, but I'm able to articulate it differently because I'm coming from a place of peace.
You know, in telling the story as you did, you had to get it away from you, and once
Yeah.
you release it,
Mm-hmm.
that is the power in it, right?
Of course, absolutely. And once I decided to release it, I released the anger. So my anger, I think, transferred to respect, that I'm gonna respect their privacy. I'm gonna respect their relationship with their father. But here's my story with their father.
Absolutely. And what would you say to anyone who is facing the same type of situation? Should I tell it? How should I tell it? What advice can you give anyone out there listening?
Yeah, I would say speak the truth, and speak the truth how you feel,
Hmm.
without embellishing the story, and you're entitled to have feelings, and you're entitled to have big feelings about it, but always tell your truth and be honest.
Hmm. The truth shall what?
Set them free.
There you go. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so that's a good way to resolve that conversation.
Absolutely, and it has to be for the individual. It can't be for the father who's forgotten them. People have to remember that not because someone decided not to love you from the start means you're unlovable. Your destiny is not tied to anyone who's left, and it's your story. So tell it how you want it.
Tell it how you want to. Now, Dr. Foster, there's more to you than cake,
Yes.
therapy, and writing books. You're a scientist.
Yeah, I
You're a scientist
absolutely
as
am.
well, and you've done work to disrupt public health in a purposeful way. As we know, as most people know, public health, right? You've challenged broken systems with both data and heart.
Mm-hmm.
One hard truth the public health world still refuses to face, and how are you working to dismantle it?
Ooh. For me, as a scientist, I've learned to bring both science and storytelling, to the table, because numbers, I often say that numbers without narratives just won't change a system, right? So one hard truth for me is that public health still struggles with valuing lived experience as part of a data set. And someone's lived experience matters. So we're there counting illnesses, but not injustice. you
Mm.
know, how can that be? We have to definitely be more intentional about including lived experiences as part of a data set.
Mm. And talking about lived experiences, you have in many ways lived in the trenches, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doing the
Yeah.
work, hard work. How do you yourself confront performative allyship and lead institutions towards real transformation?
Yeah. I think equity is not just an initiative, right? And allyship shouldn't be either. I think equity and allyship is just a posture that we all have to take. It means saying the hard things when refusing the safe topics. We don't have to always be safe, and we have to demand discomfort in rooms, that often prefer politeness. So I confront performing allyship by just simply asking, where does your personal equity live? When no one's watching, like, what do you do when no one's seeing you?
No,
I just don't know. I think we have to stop being performative, and I think equity isn't just an initiative; it has to be a posture going forward.
but what about what others are saying? People who you work with who have influence may not have influence.
Hmm. I think sooner or later people will show up as they are.
Mhm.
You can't fake authenticity for too long. If you're not authentic and you're not an ally, it's gonna pop out.
Or maybe you shouldn't fake it for too long because there
Yeah,
are
well,
people out there who are faking it forever. Clearly.
yeah, you may have a point, but we see through them. We see through the smoke and mirrors. They think they're faking. They think they're doing it. They're performing for a long time, but some of us already see who they are, and that's why I say you can't fake that too long.
So we got to go beyond the buzzword, right? Equity,
Yeah.
beyond the buzzword.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a touchy one right there, I think, but it's the way it ought to be, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, we talk about you are a scientist.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's your first love these days
Mm-hmm.
in terms of what you do,
Yeah.
because the therapy thing, you're clearly on top of it. And
Yeah.
being an art and writing is something that, I mean, you told your life story
I
there.
did. I
And there
did.
are many more stories to come from you, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about from the lab to the living room.
Huh.
Let's
From the
talk,
lab to the living room. Yeah.
how did your background in microbiology and vaccine strategy prepare you for the kind of soul work where the experiments aren't in test tubes but in human lives?
Yeah.
That's where you are now.
Mm-hmm. And to answer that, you know what, I can actually be both. I am great at science and I'm great at my passion, the Cake Therapy Foundation. And I seem to still merge those effectively.
Mhm.
But what science has taught me over the years is that precision matters and patience matters, and you have to be strategic. And it's in baking, it's the same. Precision matters because you have to measure, and patience in the baking of the cake, decorating of the cake, that matters. So the way I see it, I used to study what one could say, like what lives under microscopes, I would say, organisms under a microscope. Now I'm now trying to see what lives beneath the surface of the girl's silence. Ha, that's a good
Mhm.
one. I'm trying to figure out like what lives beneath the soul and the surface of the girl's silence in cake therapy. So it's almost the same. Both of them matter equally, but both of them require some care.
So you're found a way or searching for a way
Yes.
to merge the two
Yes.
under this one big umbrella
Yes, absolutely.
of
And
service.
yep. And I think I'm using the tools that I've learned from one
Mhm.
to lead the other, because I think I'm both left and right brained. I love the arts and I love the sciences. Yeah.
That's another conversation, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Maybe another reason for you to come back on. All
Oh,
right.
I'll be
So
back.
your life, is about vision, leading with vision, of course, and
Mm-hmm.
vulnerability, because you've had you great vision, of course,
Thank you.
and but there's some vulnerability there
Mm-hmm.
as you're exposed and pursuing your vision.
Yeah.
So, what does it mean, Dr. Foster? What does it mean to lead with both fire and tenderness in today's world, in today's setup? And how do you model that for the next generation of change makers?
Mm-hmm. Leading with fire and tenderness, you say.
Yes.
Um.
Yeah, and you fire, you are on it, you're aggressive,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
there's a level of tenderness.
Yeah. I lead with the truth, and I lead with honesty. But at the same time, in writing my books and telling my stories, I'm
Mhm.
letting people see the scars that, so I see that as the The fire is leading with honesty and strength. And I see the tenderness as just leading with my scars, showing my scars, because I believe that my audience is the girl. You know, my intending audience is to the girl who's in pain, who's experienced some form of trauma. And I believe that when girls see that you're real and you're authentic and you're leading with integrity, they believe that their dreams can too, because I've become Dr. Altreisha Foster in spite of. And I've given them this access to ask and want to know who I am and how I became me. So there's a level of tenderness and care that I have to lead with, but then there's honesty that's important.
Right. And again, it's a balancing act.
Yes, it is. It really is, because sometimes you're parts of your story you don't want to share, but then you're hearing a girl or two who's living a similar life, right? And then you have to say, listen, this happened to me too, and this is how we're gonna do it together because I have done it.
And that's the honesty right there.
Yeah.
And part of the tenderness would be, now you're dad, there are
Yeah.
other children. You want to make sure you still don't want to disrupt their situation, but
Absolutely not.
and there's the balance in peace. And based on your account, you have done just that.
Yeah.
Where all stakeholders are on board.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. The book is out, so I really hope so.
All right. So now your life is anchored in purpose.
Yeah.
Clearly. But you're busy. You have a lot going on. So with all the roles that you carry, you're a strategist, you're a founder of nonprofit agency, of different businesses, you're an advisor, you're an author. What anchors you when the noise gets so loud and the mission feels heavy?
Yeah. My family, my husband and my kids anchor me. My mother, Lorna, anchors me and keeps me grounded. And I remember who I serve. I serve God first and then the girls. And each time I think about the forgotten girl, I come back to a place of service and of purpose, and just reminding myself that I'm baking with a purpose. All that I'm doing is purposeful at this point. So I return to my own kitchen. I pray, and I what anchor me is just sitting in silence, because and I journal, and I've included some of my journal entries in this new book, because I want the person or the individual who's reading it to realize that journaling matters. My purpose is just doesn't shout. I believe my purpose is anchored in just grounding myself.
Right. So I just want to say something about journaling. And I believe it was Dr. Donna on one of our shows. She said, journaling is great, but you still keep it within you.
Yeah.
But what you're doing is you're taking information from there and you're in your book. So that's the good piece.
Yeah.
That's a powerful piece right there, because just to journal is great, but it's still embedded in you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that could be an advice for anyone out there. Journaling, absolutely necessary.
It is.
But do something with the information.
Absolutely do something with the information, because in my book, you'll find that I'm not sharing my entire journal entries. I'm taking paragraphs from it. Oh, what were you feeling? What did you say about loneliness in 1981, 1982? Oh, I'm going to write that down. And then I talked about my lessons in loneliness that I didn't learn from my father.
Yeah. And again, it's available on Amazon.
Amazon, yes.
I'm going to post a link for that.
Yes.
Because your story there, as much as it's important to you, I'm sure it's not unique. There are many individuals out there.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. It's a story of, I think it's a story of our islands too. You know what I mean? It's a pandemic here. Like, honestly, like
it's a world one, by the way.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. Yeah. We've lived it.
Yeah.
We've lived it. And I think it's a good time to read some comments, and you have quite a few folks agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Lisa said yes. Elizabeth from Kenya said very true. Lisa said, truth. Lisa said, we have been authentic all the time. It is so vital. This is inspiring. Jacob from Ghana. He also said, be who you are and love what you do.
Absolutely. You have to.
Lisbeth said, truth and honesty, very important virtues.
Mhm.
And Lisa said it's a coping mechanism. All so accurate.
Yes, absolutely.
Also accurate. All right. So you are anchored in purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Legacy. Dr. Foster,
Yeah.
the question of legacy. And you are walking in your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, when the story of your life is told,
Mm-hmm.
what do you hope people remember? Not so much about your accomplishments, but about the way you made them feel. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. You know, I don't want people to remember my accomplishments, to be honest, because I felt like that was a trauma response with me, overachieving to be, so that my name can be in lights. But what I want people to remember is that she made me feel like I mattered.
Mhm.
That's the legacy that I want. I want to be that mirror that remind people of their own self-worth. And I'm doing that with my own little girl. Um, I want her to look in the mirror and be reminded, of her own self-worth, that my mom did this, and I can do it too. So it's not because I don't want a legacy that's created around what I can produce, but simply because of who I already am.
Awesome. Which is the life that you're living.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
And I would like for you right now to get as close as you can to the camera
Mm-hmm.
and pinpoint one person and say thank you to them for what they have done for you.
Oh my goodness. Um, in my book Cake Therapy, I talked about how a lot of people have influenced me.
One,
But
one.
yes, one, I'm going to go to my mother.
Mhm.
Um, for choosing to give me life and for choosing to breathe life into me when I did not believe I was worthy. And to Lorna, I want to say thank you for giving me everything. I couldn't be me without you.
Mm. Where's mom's right now?
Yeah. So I live in Minnesota and I'm currently in Jamaica because my mom is in a hospital bed right now at the University of the West Indies Hospital,
Mhm.
getting ready for surgery today or tomorrow.
What a great thing to say to
Yeah,
her.
yeah, absolutely. She did it all. I would not have been Altreisha and all these flourishing things that goes behind my name without my mom. She believed all of that before I could even see it.
Moms, I know you will hear what your daughter, Dr. Foster, is saying. And I know she would have said this to you before, but today she's saying it to the world.
Yeah.
She's telling the world what you did and what you continue to do for her. So
Mm-hmm.
we just want to wish you huge success with your surgery. And we know you will come through that and
Of
find
course. Yes, it's
a
already done. Yeah.
deal. All right. I'm not sure if you had said your mom's name.
Lorna. Yes, Lorna. Lorna Wall.
Lana.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good stuff.
Lorna Elaine Wall.
All right. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's so great when you can talk to, often we wait a little bit too late to tell people how we
Yeah.
feel.
Mm-hmm.
So the opportunity for you to say it publicly is so
Yeah.
awesome.
And I've always told her, so she knows.
She knows.
But yeah, she
All
knows.
right. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. We talk about legacy now. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I want you to talk to the younger version of you, Dr. Foster.
Yeah,
The younger version. And you had a young version.
yeah, I do.
If you could whisper one sentence to that young
Mm-hmm.
version of you
Yeah,
who was just trying to figure it out, trying to survive, what would you say to her now?
yeah. What would I say to Altreisha then?
Mhm.
Um, I would say you're not too much. You're just enough. Just keep rising, keep going, keep choosing you. Your legacy is not tied to who left you.
Mm,
Yeah,
enough.
enough. Yeah,
And I think beyond the younger version of you, understanding that enough is a good thing.
yeah,
To see yourself when you look in the mirror and not be in a state where I need to be this, I need to be that. Learn how to use what you have.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Chances are you have enough.
Yeah,
You have enough. And there's this thing that's saying grow where you're planted.
yeah.
But
And bloom there.
and bloom there. Often too many of us, and I say us, too many of us, because I've been a victim of that belief as well, that if only I had,
Yeah,
or this was different. When the thing to say is, this is where I am, this is where I'm going to build from, this is where I'm going to grow from, and as you say, bloom,
yeah,
bloom. Because you don't always, you very rarely get the opportunity to determine certain things in your life. But
yeah.
once you're there, you can
Mm-hmm.
make the difference.
Yeah.
Whatever
Mm-hmm.
opportunities that are there, you can certainly learn how to leverage them in
Absolutely.
your
Yeah,
life.
you have to. Mm-hmm.
So, Dr. Foster, time is really moving. We're almost at the hour, just like that,
Oh, yeah.
just like that. So, what I would like you to do now is say something for anyone out there who's listening.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're overwhelmed caregivers,
Yeah.
aspiring leaders, or broken girls still waiting to rise. What is the first bold step they can take towards healing and wholeness today?
Mm. Today. Um, I say to you today that your first bold step does not have to be loud. You just have to take the step. Nobody needs to know. You could do it in your own time, your own pace, but it doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to mean anything to anyone else. It just has to mean something to you. It can be simply breathing, saying yes to joy, saying no to someone or something that has caused you pain, or simply daring to believe that you yourself deserve healing and that healing is for you. Um, I think your own personal wholeness is a destination, and it's just simply a decision that you have to make daily. Just keep making that decision for you.
Wow, that's advice I would receive.
That's
And
good.
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
As we are about to wrap up our conversation today, Dr. Foster,
Hmm.
anything else you'd like to say? Maybe a question I didn't ask you, but you think it's important to get it out there? This is the opportunity to do so.
Yeah. Before I leave, and if there are mothers or girls who are re-watching this or watching this live, I want you to just keep encouraging your girls and keep speaking over them. Keep reminding them that they too can. And something I tell myself all the time is that my father did not love me, but it didn't mean I was unlovable. And that girls are hearing that and women hear this and they're feeling the same way. But I want you to keep reminding them that they are lovable and they should be loved.
Mhm. Now, I'm going to ask you to say something to men.
Yeah.
Talk to them.
um, to men or fathers.
Fathers, yeah.
Um,
Talk to the father.
yeah, there are people who become fathers but have chosen not to be dads, and you're the ones who are causing these undue, unnecessary trauma to our youth, not necessarily only our girls, but also to our boys. I say it is a gift and you need to start stepping and leading and walking in your purpose. I know you can do it. Even if your own father is not there, wasn't there for you, but there must be something that you envisioned for your own life. I want you to pass that on to the child that you've now given birth to.
you know, I hear what you're saying, but I'm wondering if there's some deeper on the line factors creating what you just talked about. It's
Uh,
why some individuals are able to break away from it, but others are not able to do so.
Sometimes I think it's cultural, it's socialization.
Mhm.
You know, um, people start believing that you need to hit and run. That's what the music is telling them. They just hit and run. And I think it's cultural,
But
it's socialization.
who wrote that song, Hit and Run? That was not a male.
I don't know,
We
but
don't need to call the name, but that was
yeah,
not a
I,
male.
I-
That's
yeah,
something written by.
exactly.
Yeah,
So,
but and you say cultural because I've traveled to Africa,
mhm.
other countries, and it is happening in these other countries, other cultures as well.
Yeah, but you know what? If we talk about the entire continent of Africa, we see that countries within Africa, they believe in this social context of the family. If you see a girl, you like her, you have to go to her dad, you have to get permission, you have to pay her dowry, and you have to just marry this person before you start having children with them. We don't do that in our society anymore. That's out the window. We're
I,
hitting and running.
I agree with you, but it is what happens after the marriage
Mm-hmm.
when life gets in the way.
Yeah.
That's the story there.
Yeah.
When men walk away from the family that
Yeah.
they went into going through all the steps that you just described. So it is happening in
Yeah.
a
I'm
big
not.
in a
Yeah,
big
I'm
way.
not saying that the continent and the countries within the continent are void of some of this, right? But I think I can speak from a cultural context for my own
Mhm.
self, where I've
Precisely.
seen, in my batch alone at
Mhm.
Campion College, there are like so many kids who will tell me after reading my book that, yeah, my father wasn't in my life.
We need to get your book over to on the continent, and I think you'll hear the same story, the same
Yeah.
response. And in fact, Elizabeth, my good friend from Kenya, Elizabeth, I'm looking forward to seeing you on June 6th when we, Collision with Purpose team members, come to Kenya to do
Yeah.
some work there. Looking forward to seeing you. She said, "You are talking to me, Dr. Foster. Thank you."
Yeah.
So if you're having a direct conversation with her based on what you said, which is awesome.
Hmm.
All right, so almost at the hour. Final thoughts.
Yeah. Um, life is not without its challenges, but it's how you meet them. I've decided to meet my challenge by telling my truth and putting it all in the pages of my book. Lessons I never learned from my father, and Cake Therapy, how baking changed my life. I think your story can be told however you want. It doesn't have to be in paper. It doesn't have to be in print, but tell your story your way and the way you want to tell it.
Absolutely. It is your story.
Mm-hmm.
Tell it as you see it. That's
Yeah.
what I'm hearing you
Just
saying.
own your story. Yes.
Can we have those two books up there again on the screen?
Absolutely. It's Cake Therapy, how baking changed my life. And the second one is Lessons I Never Learned from My Father.
And of course, we've posted the Amazon link.
Yep.
And is there another way they can get it from your website? It's on your website if they
The
want.
links, yeah, yeah, but it directly links them to either Amazon or Barnes and Noble.
Okay, got you. So it's out there. It's in the world for you to have it. Important information. Go out there and get it. All right.
Yes.
So as we close today's life-changing conversation to inspire action, and this is exactly what we did today with Dr. Foss.
Thank you.
We are reminded that healing isn't always found in a therapist's chair or a textbook for that matter. Sometimes it rises from the scent of something baking, from the courage to tell the truth, and from the boldness of a woman who refused to let pain have the final word. Dr. Foster has shown us that leadership doesn't mean having all the answers. It
Hmm.
means having the heart to ask better questions.
Yes.
That systems don't change because policies shift. They change because people like her walk into rooms and dare to disrupt. She's been doing some of that. Right? From the kitchen to the classroom, from global strategy to grassroots healing, her journey is a blueprint for purpose-driven impact, infused with compassion, conviction, and an unshakable belief in transformation. To every listener today, may Dr. Foster's story remind you that your voice matters, your healing matters, and your purpose, no matter how unconventional, is the very thing that this world we live in is waiting on. Dr. Foster, I want to say thank you for being a light, a leader, and a living reminder that baking can be therapy, truth can be healing, and leadership can be deeply human.
Yes.
Until next time, on Life-Changing Conversations, Inspire Actions, I ask that you keep leading with heart.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
We've all had moments that break us down, searching for light when the world spins round. But in those cracks, the purpose